I'm about to do something I've never done before, and that is to spend an entire day working on a Flames of War box set. This happens to be the Soviet Starter Force Tank Shock Group. So join me and let's see how far I can get in one single day working on it entirely. All right. Hello, everyone. Like I said in the intro to the video, I've never done anything quite like this before in all my hobby years, where from the time I woke up in the morning to the time I went to sleep at night, worked on a Flames of War project, or any project for that matter. So here I'm getting started. I'm going to open up the box. This should go quickly, very shortly here. And I have to note, I'm just going to tell you right now, for full disclosure, as soon as I opened right here and saw these sprues, I literally went online and went to see if I could acquire the old school models and do it that way instead. And I learned very quickly that that was going to be impossible, and I was just going to have to stick it out with this box set as it is. And I do include a picture of all the empty sprues at the end of the video. I never saw so many in my life. One thing I'll say, I used the 1/72 scale model because I liked how small they were, and I could do a lot of things and put it in, keep the amount of space to store stuff very limited. So I liked 1/72 scale modeling, but once I found out about Flames of War by visiting a specialty gaming store for the very first time, it was Game Empire in Southern California in San Diego. I came across a whole universe of things I did not know about, and the first thing that grabbed me for sure, and I threw money down on, was when I saw the Flames of War game. The store owner was really supporting it at that time particularly, and I bought everything I need. I bought a U.S. infantry company set, and I also bought a platoon of Shermans. And yeah, that was it. Just those two things. That was what started me off on my adventure with Flames of War, and it's still going to this day, clearly. So, um, what I'm doing is I decided at a fast speed here, clearly, but I decided that I'm going to show how I actually put each one of these pieces together at least one time for you guys, just in case you wanted to watch my method of what I do to prepare a miniature before I paint it. I know I'm not as detailed as a lot of modelers out there, and the work can be extremely incredible, far better than anything I could produce. But I like I like to be efficient and get just enough where I'm happy with the way it looks and it's modeled, and also not spending so much time on it that I never get it to the table. And I have so many undone projects at this point that it'd be kind of ludicrous for me to stay on any one particular project for very long. I have a lot to do to get caught up with everything that I've ever bought, which is one of the missions of this channel, was to basically say that the gaming hobby can be overwhelming if you get kind of pulled into it and you know, absolutely enjoy it to the point where you're buying games all the time or buying miniatures for games all the time, and you're amassing all this stuff. And but you know, the problem is that you need time for the stuff that you're acquiring. And I found out, you know, years ago really, that I'm acquiring too much and I can't keep up with that. And so what I've tried to do is minimalize a bit and really appreciate for the things that I'm keeping in my collection, because I am selling off quite a bit of it. In fact, I might do a video and just go through some of the things I'm selling and see if anybody's interested. I sell on Facebook Marketplace. So, as I was saying, you know, Flames of War has been a great experience, and I've really enjoyed it throughout the years. And I gave you how my origins. Oops, I gave you my origins, and now you know my history as far as where everything started for me. I will say that once I started playing Flames of War, I became extremely addicted to the game. I mean, I was just buying army book after army book, trying to field different armies. I was just enamored with it. I loved it. And I had a great bunch of folks that played the game. Um, one of the most skilled players in the country, as far as I know, because he's placed, you know, extremely high and won a nationals in 2008. can't remember who placed second. I didn't know the guy very well, but it was a huge competition. I enjoyed painting the army probably just as much as playing it. In fact, I still play that same army today. It's my favorite till this day. So that was the 2008 Nationals at Historicon in Pennsylvania. So here I'm finally gluing together the pieces, and you know, if you're watching me just file away and prep, that's pretty boring. But here, I just want to tell you that I've learned along the years that less is more when it comes to glue. It's basically where you put the glue. So I try to put it at quite a few touch points, but not, I used to just slather the glue on every single surface, and that gets messy. I eventually get it on my fingers, then I got to pull my fingers apart because the glue is basically fused my skin together, right? I'm sure some of you are probably laughing at this with me because it's happened to you, but yeah, I try to avoid that. So I just get as many points of contact that I think are necessary, and try to minimize, especially with plastics here. You know, you don't have the weight of the resin and also pewter metal with the old kits, so you don't have to worry so much about that weight. So plastics, you know, they're a little bit more fragile, of course, you know, with the barrels and such. I can only imagine what it's like with the Sherman tanks and the 50 cals. That's been my bane ever since I've been playing this game. That and the Panzer IV shirts and side skirts, trying to keep those in the new, when they started to do the plastic skirts in that you had to put on. That was a mess. I liked it much better when they had it already it was part of the model. You weren't putting it on separately, and you weren't putting on these tracks for the shirts to sit on and rest on. That was a real pain. So here I'm moving on. Let's see, I'm still working on the T-34. The basic, and I'm doing both versions. I want to do the 76 and also the 85 because I plan on using these tanks for both mid-war and late war. I had a cough for a second there. So I am basically, I think for the first couple, I'm basically pulling out every single piece, but one of the things I normally do is load up on a bunch of, I like stowage, I really do. I love extra armor bags, any kind of stowage on a tank, it really pops. But I figured for a challenge, I wanted to get as much done on as many models as possible. So I really, even though I cut out a lot of these pieces, I didn't use a good portion of them because it just would take so much time. And this is a 22 vehicle model kit. So that's by far more than I've ever taken on and dealt with at one time. I'm usually a one platoon at a time guy, maybe a couple different platoons, you know, working in and out of those, but never sitting down and taking on an enormous project like this in a single day. And of course, I can't give away my progress because then, you know, it would take some of the fun out of watching this video. So, you know, if you are a Flames of War player, please share your experiences down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me about your experiences in the game, the highs and lows. What are you doing currently with the game? How has it affected your life? I can tell you that I ate, lived, and breathed this game from 2006 when I started playing it. I bought the models and the rule book in 2005. I bought all that together. I forgot to say that I did buy the rule book with the infantry company box set in the Sherman platoon, but I didn't actually, you know, get all the rules down because it was I wasn't used to rule books of that size. You know, that was I was a noob to miniature wargaming. I had no clue that books could get much more than, I don't know, I think the first version was 100 and something pages. Not too bad, but for me, I was used to board game rule books and stuff like that. And a couple miniatures that I played, Axis and Allies, war miniatures, and also Star Wars miniatures. Those were games that I had actually owned prior to Flames of War. 2005, I bought all the rules in my first army kit, and then subsequently to that, I learned, I had to read through all the rules. I was telling you about how it took me quite a long time to get through a rule book that size, and so I didn't start actually playing the game till 2006. I slowly painted my army. I had some experience with 172 modeling. I wasn't great. I wasn't seasoned. I wasn't having all these techniques that I was bringing to the table that really helped me excel. So my first paint jobs were pretty basic. I did a little better on the tanks because that's mostly what I painted in 172 was tanks. So I did pretty decent at those, but the infantry were pretty bad the first time around. I ended up going back and repainting all that stuff, but I eventually sold the infantry company because I found it, for me personally, it was my least favorite force to play. I am more of an aggressive player. If I was to, my tactics, my style is to be aggressive. I actually am a fan of defense, but I learned playing with one of the best out there that being aggressive in this game and taking the initiative can be sometimes more valuable than just playing better. Because having to force your enemy to react to you, and I've seen this many, many times, I've seen it play out where I know for a fact everything I did by taking the first turn just messed up their game plan, and I can tell they're frantically trying to regroup and determine what their best next move is. And I love that fact, and it is a fact in actual tactics as well. Like being caught by surprise with your pants down is not a good thing on the front lines, right? So I learned very quickly that in this game, and then it became more of my style. Like I bought the infantry because I was a Marine for 15 years, and I really respect our Marine infantry. And as a combat MP for a while, we were like, noob infantry guys. We didn't do nearly as the crap and grunge and suffering that they did, but we got access to all the crew-served weapons, the ranges, we had Humvees even, which really added a lot of maintenance too, by the way. But that was great. So I like the concept of a Marine rifle platoon, except it would be Army, no big deal. There was no Pacific out then. But play my Army comrades, and I started out with that mentality and style, and I knew defense quite well. Setting up a perimeter for patrolling or camp or an outpost or any of that, a command post. I knew how to do those things, so I was really, really liking the infantry. But just after playing this game for a long time, I just found that just playing the regular infantry and mainly defense wasn't really working for me. If I would have had parachute rifles, it probably would have been better. If I would have had what are some of those good guys that had the Truscott Trot? The Rangers, yes, the Rangers could get across the table very fast, so it makes up for the fact that you're just infantry and you're better off holding position than taking it against certain armies. Now, if it's infantry against infantry primarily, then that's just a good battle. But you go against tank forces a lot, and that's a really hard task to take on tanks and go try to capture something. And you're better off defending your own than going against tanks to try to capture an objective, from my experience anyway. So unless there's not enough numbers to kind of negate your overwhelming numerical superiority, then yeah, you're kind of you're not in a good position. So I think I just filed some glue off my fingers actually right there. I was wondering, I'm like, my finger doing my fingernails there, or I don't know though, it could have been, who knows. So now I am working on, as you can see, I got through the SU-85 and a full platoon of T-34s, the SU-85, and now I'm working on KV-1. And, I apologize if I'm not really flowing with the actual work I'm doing here. I'm just kind of narrating and giving you guys something to listen to along with watching a video that for some this could be kind of boring, but like I said, I wanted to show everyone an example of putting together how I put together at least one tank of each type, or there's actually a vehicle too. The Katyushas are not a vehicle; they're an unarmored team. So yeah, there I did a whole perimeter. I probably forgetting my own skills. See, then I had to go wipe a bunch of stuff off. So that's why I try not to do that. I guess I even fail sometimes in my own new methods. That's why, when you're starting off and you develop bad habits, they kind of follow you and nag at your heel for the rest of your time as a hobbyist. I'm sorry I'm ducking my head so much in there, but I'm trying to look as the instructions are a little off the page to where the sprues are up there. So that's where I have instructions on how to assemble these as well. So I'm kind of trying to get a closer look because my eyes are not what they used to be. Plus I have my nearsighted glasses on there. Not too much information. Cut that out. Yeah, so to continue on about my career with Flames of War, my experience with Flames of War seemed like a career actually. So I'm getting back to the story. So 2006 I started playing and I was just into it. I was constantly list building and buying new platoons and thinking about different, constantly trying to add pieces to platoons, organic platoons that I already had in place, or organic companies, I should say, adding different, support platoons or an extra combat platoon, for example. Constantly experimenting, and that's how you end up with getting a whole collection of stuff and you're overwhelmed and you run out of time to keep up with all the projects that you're starting for yourself, because every time you buy a model kit, until you're done painting it, you're really not done. At least not for me. I really don't like to play with unfinished models. I would never chastise anybody for doing it, but me personally, I just really like that part of this hobby, bringing a well-painted, decently painted tabletop miniature, and just the presentation of it. I mean, my goodness, when I used to walk in the store sometimes before I started playing and looking at some of these um, well distributed tables with terrain and all that, I was super impressed. The buildings and everything, and it just got that quality of stuff just got better and better over the time as along with playing Flames of War. The quality of miniatures, buildings, and accessories just became and then that became a thing to collect. Buying a bunch of buildings, buying Russian factories and all kinds of stuff. I have a good selection of terrain for this game. So, yeah, like I said before, please share your stories too. Looks like okay. Oh, I think I lost a component here, and that's why I ducked out of the video. Yeah, I'm looking right now. I may cut this out of the video, but if I don't, it's just no big deal. Okay, yeah, looks like I'm done. So I showed you guys that one. Here's a time check. It's 2:48, and that's how much I got done by that time, from about 6:30 in the morning to 2:48. That's a good amount of work. I was quite pleased with that, but look at those sprues still ready to go. Oh my goodness. I had my fill. And to give you a little history, I think I've only spent, maybe in a single day, I probably have spent maybe 8 hours, possibly 9, working on Flames of War project or any type of hobby project. So this was a real feat for me, because I have never done, maybe half this much I've done in the past, but that's half. So I was really proud of myself after this video was over, after I had filmed everything, and just looking at what I accomplished. And I'm not gonna tell you how far I get, but I was pretty happy with how far I did indeed get. So you'll have to find out for yourself towards the end of the video, or you can jump ahead if you really want to see. But yeah, hopefully you're having a good time with me as I'm just narrating through some very simple steps of model building. And really just looking at those sprues now just makes me feel even better that I got through. I mean, I'm kind of giving it away, but I did at least assemble all the vehicles. Okay, so I will say that much. By now in the video, you deserve a little teaser, right? So yeah, It was a good day, and even if I think I would have just got all of them assembled, I probably would have been happy with that. I think I would have, but I was able to push through and get a bit farther. So, all right. Now I'm running out of dialogue. I'm tinkered out. I will say I did not like some of the small pieces that I felt were unnecessarily that I had to put on, like the exhaust fans out the back for. I just didn't understand, like, why couldn't those been sculpted that way? They were on the resin miniatures, but I'm not going to complain a whole lot because overall, I felt this was a tremendous value for the kit. $99, I believe, is what I paid for this kit, and to get 22 vehicles for $99 in today's currency, because when I started playing, that was back in 2006, right? Like I said, I bought in 2005, but started playing in 2006. That's a long. That was 14. What? 18 years. No, yeah, 18 years ago now. 18 years. So it's been a long time. All right, I'm finally working on the Katyushas. This first one gave me a lot of problems. I'm not going to try to say anything other than that because it did. My first time doing, I had at least some experience doing Russian tanks in the past. Unfortunately, I sold them to much bigger fans of Russian armies than I was at the time, and so I sold those away. And they were assembled and mostly painted, but not finished. I didn't get a chance to finish any of them, but they were good for table. Just if you're just throwing them on a table and you don't care about that, they were fine. And so I sold those, but I had a full company of Russian troops that I had actually commission painted because I had no desire to paint an entire company box of Russians back then because it was already taking me forever to get through. Just like smaller projects, 7 stand platoons were taking me a long time, especially when I was doing the SS because I used of course, I got to go all out and use all the different patterns. Excuse me. I'm going to sneeze again. I was just kicking up. So I had to have all the different patterns. So we're talking oak leaf autumn, oak leaf spring, P dot, anything I could find. I was working it into that, and I got all those different patterns. It took forever to do the miniatures, but when I was done, all the reward was there. It really was. Yeah, see, I was having a real hard time with lining up these rails along with the sprocket, I guess, that comes up that holds them both in place. Yeah, it was good fun, this first one for sure. Oh, another problem I had is the rockets were really hard to get on without kind of warping the frame of the Katyusha. So because the rockets are the two that you see there. Well, you can't see them now because they're under my left hand, but there you go. The two you see there, they actually are glued together as a group of two groups of rockets, one on both sides of the sled. That's on the top of the Katyusha. So when I tried to fix those there, I think either I didn't fix them properly or they weren't easily able to go between the rails or onto the rails. So I had a hard time with that, but I eventually overcame it. I was happy with the Katyushas after I was done for sure. And going back to this kit, I can't speak highly enough of it. I'm not a fan of doing plastic models. I'd much rather go back to resin and the pewter, but I'm okay with, now that I've done some of these, I'm confident that I'll be all right, I'll be all right having to switch over to plastics. It's not gonna, I actually wanted to try the infantry just because I was hoping it'd be much easier to paint infantry. I felt like I spent a ton of time. There's the Katyusha done. I spent a ton of time prepping infantry for painting, like way too much, And so I was hoping, at least with injection mold plastic, that it would alleviate some of the problems of the past. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but from what I've looked at, I've opened up an SS pack just to see the difference. It was only $12.50. I didn't have to invest a whole lot, US dollars, and so I was pretty happy with it. I will say that some of the plastic in general looks a bit weak. And I have seen, I think one of my guys actually came off at the legs. So his knees and his upper torso were loosened from it on the sprue. And I've seen people's sprues where literally an entire sprue, half or more of the models were busted off at the feet or around the feet. And I thought that kind of stinks because that, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Games Workshop resin, fine cast resin, and that stuff was so delicate and brittle to work with that, you know, I could see why a lot of fans of Middle-earth strategy battle game, as it's called today, were really put off by that when they started that fine cast modeling. And when I've worked with it, I got to admit I haven't had tremendous difficulty, but that's because I was using extreme care. If okay, it looks like I'm stuck on this. I might have. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I'm coming back. So I missed a portion. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place, but I missed a portion of video. I thought I was recording and I wasn't. So unfortunately, I missed the beginning of priming these. And I'm just going to warn you guys now. I have had a lot of experience with airbrushing, and I'm going to tell you, I still feel like a noob. I still feel like I cannot get the best use out of my airbrushes. They go down, like I have two of them. And it feels like one went down in this project. You'll see I'll be using a different one at some point. So one of them went down and then I got the other out. And then I was just hanging on for dear life, trying to just eke out as much life as I could get out of them to get this project painted. But yeah, I could never seem to get everything just right. I mean, if you have problems like this with your airbrush, let me know. I want to hear your horror stories too. And also, if you are a good airbrusher, you got it down to a science, please share too any techniques. I can tell you, I really have gone out to a lot of videos, you know, 10, 20, maybe probably more, of finding different people that use airbrushes frequently, and I take notes. I try to mimic everything they do, but at the end of the day, I end up with similar issues each time. And some of it I think is, you know, sometimes I used to think, well, maybe I'm not thinning the paint enough. You know, we talk about skim milk. You know, what exactly is the skim milk consistency? And I get to the point where it's like, I get to the point where it goes from splattering and not coming out to then overspraying and spider webbing everywhere. It's like I don't get the in-between point anyway. Okay, so here I have actually completed this as much footage of the airbrushing as I've done. I've even done a little bit of modular painting here. I'm not great at it. I just tried a little experimentation. So here I have actually painted everything, and these are the sprues that were left over. Look at those sprues, and I'm finally done at 1:21 a.m. of the next day. But in truth, I actually finished at 12:08. But the battery went down on my tablet, so I had to go charge the tablet, and I brought it back down. And the time you saw is actually the time I went to bed. But I wasn't working on it after past 12:08 because I figured I'm only going to go the full day. I'm not going to go into the next day because that's not what I said. I said the full day. So the day ended, and that was it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed doing this project with me, and you know, challenge yourself. You know, maybe do something. I can tell you, I'm so glad I did this because I got to see the limits of my capabilities. I've never pushed myself to that point before, and I learned something about myself from doing it. I highly advise you guys to do it too. Give it a shot. Or maybe if it's just the platoon, instead, hey, if you're intimidated by this big box, as you should be, start off with just the platoon then. See if you can knock it out in a day, or get as far as I did, you know? And good luck to you all. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, the video like, if you really enjoyed it, and please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing all kinds of different stuff. Miniature gaming. I do some board gaming too, but I do love miniature games quite a bit. I play quite a few of them. And so subscribe, and you'll be seeing more videos of hopefully content you'll be interested in. All right, thanks again. Take care, everyone. Bye.